In this video, I'm going to show you how to change your brakes on your Super 73. Hey, what's going on, guys? Behind me, I have my Super 73 S2. Now, ever since I got this bike, I've had a little bit of an issue with the brakes squeaking. So, I've ridden it for over 700 miles now. I figured now would be a good time to swap out my brakes. Technically, the brakes should last a little bit longer, but 700 miles seems like a good benchmark. So I actually picked up the Tektro high-performance ceramic metallic brakes. They're a little bit of a step up from the brakes that come stock. So let's get them installed. Before I begin, I want to make sure I have the right tools for the job. I need a 3mm and a 5mm hex tool, which I have right here. I need a caliper reset tool, but a large flathead screwdriver will work since I don't have one of those. Obviously the brake pads and some isopropyl alcohol to clean the rotors. I like to do that anytime I'm messing with the brakes. I'll have links for some of these tools in the description below, as well as other things that I think are necessary if you're gonna own a Super 73, so be sure to check those out. Be sure to follow what I say and not what I do. Don't change your brake pads out in the grass because we are gonna be dealing with some bolts and some washers, so you don't wanna lose those in the grass. However, I do have this pan here, so it should be okay. I'll just be extra careful. I'm going to start out with the rear brakes for no particular reason other than I'm already set up to do so. I am going to remove these two bolts with the 5mm hex tool that's connected to my park tool, a super handy item. And as I do, I want to be extra careful not to touch the disc with my bare hands. I accidentally tinged it with the tool itself, but that's okay, no damage. Now, if you have access to some like doctor's gloves, then that would be ideal. But in my case, I'm just going to be extra careful not to touch them. So I'll just loosen these bolts here. Now, once I have them removed, I'll pull off the caliper and actually take my washers and bolts and put them back in the hole so I can make sure that I don't lose them. So now that my caliper is loose, you can see here are the brake pads right here. I don't want to touch the new ones with my bare hands, but since I'm replacing them, I'll just go ahead and point out where they are. Now we do have one more bolt to remove, and that is this one right here, and that is a 3mm hex bolt. So let me grab my tool there. All right, so it's just one simple bolt, so I'm just gonna loosen it and pop it out of here. Not hard to do. Okay, so I got it pulled out. Now that I have that pulled out, I can pop out my set of pads. And this is what it looks like. Two pads and a little holder. Now, as you can see, I have plenty of wear left on these pads. I just want to see that if I upgrade them to the high performance, if it'll stop my brakes from squeaking. Now that I have the pads removed from the caliper, I will take my screwdriver and just press in those pistons to reset them. And when I'm talking about the pistons, it's these silver ring looking things right here inside the caliper. I'll just use a little bit of leverage. Before I install the new brake pads and with the caliper removed, I'm going to actually clean the disc with this isopropyl alcohol and a microfiber cloth. Again, being extra careful, you want to make sure that you don't touch it with your bare hands. The oil and residue from your hands can cause brake noise, but what I'm doing is I'm cleaning both sides of the disc with this alcohol. This is just clearing it of debris and brake dust. Another way to do this is to put the alcohol in a spray bottle and just spray really liberally. So you make sure you want to get both sides of the disc. I've also rotated the tire to make sure that I get all of the disc here. Now let's talk brake pads for just a minute. When it comes to Tektro pads, which is the brand of the brakes on the Super 73 S2, you have a few options. You have the ones that come stock. This is a metal ceramic compound, or you have these high performance brake pads, which are also a metal ceramic compound, or you have an organic option as well. What's the difference between metal ceramic compound and organic? Organic brake pads are a little bit cheaper. They create less wear and tear on the brake system, and they're generally a little bit more quieter. With the metal ceramic compound, they do last longer, they are higher performance, but they are a little bit more expensive. With the new brake pads, I'll put them in their frame bracket, being careful not to touch them with my bare hands. I'll grab my caliper here, slide them into position. Now what's nice is these are magnetic, so once you get them into position, they will stay. Then I will take my bolt, again this is 3 millimeters, and tighten it. Now I'll tighten it tight, but I don't want to overdo it. So once it stops, I'll just give it a nice little push there and we should be good to go. Okay, with the caliper in place, I want to tighten these two bolts. However, I don't want to tighten it all the way just yet because I'm going to show you a trick on how to center your brakes. So with the caliper still loose, I'm actually going to squeeze the right lever here and then tighten these two bolts while holding the lever. So what this is going to do is it's actually going to center the brake pads on the disc. So that's pretty much it when it comes to swapping out the brake pads on your Super 73. Now I did this on the S2. It might be a little bit different for the R series and the Z model as well, but it should be pretty similar. I am going to change out the front brake pads as well. It's pretty much like changing the rear brake pads, so I'm not going to walk you through those steps. The one thing I do want to point out though is that the position of the caliper is a little bit different than in the rear. Now there is a spacer between the frame and the calipers. The one thing to remember, and I've forgotten it in the past, is that you want to make sure that this thicker part is at the top and this narrower part is at the bottom. So when I remove this caliper, this piece actually comes out, but when I put it back, I want to make sure that that thicker piece is there at the top. So I'm going to swap these out and then show you the last step after changing out your brake pads. So I've replaced my rear brake pads, I've replaced my front brake pads. Now it's time to bed the brakes. That's the final step. Now going off the instructions on the back of the Tektro box here, it says that new pads require about 10 full stops to achieve their optimum braking power. This process is called bedding in the brakes. So I'm gonna go take this out for a ride, do 10 full stops to bed in the brakes. If you found this video informative, go ahead and give it that like. Also comment down below, are you comfortable swapping out the brake pads on your Super 73, or do you not take advice from strangers on the internet and probably do the right thing and take it to a bike shop for them to swap it out? Anyway, if you haven't yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Also, check out the links in the description below. A lot of the tools that I used in this video, I have links to, as well as a hookup to $100 off a Super 73 and a link to a super fast charger that will charge your battery in 2.5 hours. So that's it for me. I hope you have a great rest of your day.